we're going to take this time to pause and do a few announcements. We always do some announcements. And let's start with Leah's announcement about something happening here at the gallery.
Yes, I completely forgot, but the art that you see on the walls, the artists are coming here Saturday and having an artist talk from 4 to 6, and it's open to everyone. And this group has been together 30 years this year. So come and listen to them.
Yeah, and there's some local folks that some of you will be familiar with already, like Chris Egan and Kara Cunningham and a few others. But it's great work and it's a great group, so come back on Saturday. Also, if you'd like to come on Saturday for my monthly workshop that happens next door at Niche from noon to 2:30. That'll be this Saturday. It's a $20 suggested donation, so if you don't have that or don't want to pay that, then you're welcome to join us anyway. Bring a poem to share and a shareable snack, because the bar will not be open. Sometimes she makes us a pot of coffee or some tea, but basically people bring snacks if they want something to eat. Then we're going to have, let me go in order here in case any of you are taking some of this stuff down. We also have Diane Cameron here. Diane, if you wouldn't mind waving. Diane is, she's running wildfire writing at the Cascade Park Library. I think you're sharing that with Christy, right? Like the hosting
so
duties.
this is my month, and next month is her.
Yeah, so next month will be Christy again. That's at the Cascade Park Library. The theme this time is Leap, and it'll be 6:30 on February 24th. And we also have a new poetry and music jam next door at Niche, because doing poetry and music together is my thing. So the idea is that if this is going to really work out, it's not going to be 2 hours with Christopher Luna. It's going to be me and some of you and any musicians that want to come. So if you have musician friends who like to improvise and like to improvise with poets, that's the idea. Right now we have a house band of 2. Myself and Jim Templeton on the piano, but you're all welcome to come to participate if that's your thing, or to listen. And then I'm often contacted by people and groups who want to do book launch events, and sometimes doing the book launch events on the weekend and without a big open mic attached to it, it's hard to get attendance, so I had this idea to attach those to the poetry and music jam. So when those things come up, that's what we're going to do, and in fact we're doing that this month. There's a great group on the Portland side called the Inflectionist Review. They just put out an anniversary anthology, and there'll be 4 or 5 writers plus the editors of that journal will be here on the 27th after the Poetry and Music Jam. So poetry and music from 3 to 5, and then at 5:30 come from the bar over here into the gallery for the book launch. And I think that is all. Oh, we also wanted to mention that John Kay, who you heard from earlier, also has some books for sale that I'm sure he would love to talk to you about later on. $10 for that book if you want to get a copy of that tonight. Okay? All right, so let's get back to the open mic, and we're going to begin the second half of the open mic with Miss Robin Moore.
Since it's February, I brought a love poem, but this is very short, so pay attention.
All right, so she's a...
Pom, pom, dum-de-dum, thrum. Pulse of you, counterpoint to me. A spring in spring has no notion of its future growth, no grandiose scheme for bud and bloom. It only hopes for room to branch, rain and sun, temperate wind, cosmic kiss. Remember tag, ring around the rosy, red light, green light, waiting to see who would choose sides, wondering if anybody wanted to play with me. Spend my whole life like a stupid parking pass. Validate me, please.
We validate you, Robin. You are valid as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And speaking of someone who's very valid and also multi-talented, as many of the people who've heard from tonight, please say hello to Jim Martin.
3.5 inches shorter than I was when I joined the Navy, when I was a kid. Wow.
But you know the measurement may have been off just to get you in.
Oh, darn, there goes all my hopes. I have two. Hopeful River. There's a river that flows through all of us. Consequences, thoughts and beliefs, a world immaterial but powerful. Shapes the universe we live today. A river which flows across the lands through all of us. Unseen but known. A scaffold supports our lives. World of thoughts and beliefs. Products of the imagination organize a chaotic world into navigable lands. Some sense of order. As Teddy orders his world, spray, pungent musk. Sequesters its chaotic elements into a manageable, navigable scheme. We build on that foundation, oblivious to its origins. Focus on the moment. Assume the products of imagination which shape our world are its structure. Real, solid, concrete. A platform to build upon. And this one I've read before quite a while ago. I'm interested in some husbands who are very sociopathic. I've met so many women since my youngest daughter left a sociopathic husband who have had the same experience. And I'm trying to understand this. And this is one of my poems. Altitude. His words scuttle like a crab. Legs on autopilot, twist and bend, pulling its body, his lies close to the ground. Unseen from above while claws wave in the air, directing your gaze from its eyes. Eyes fasten on your vulnerable neck, throbbing artery that once breached, heart's certain death. Scuttles does the crab, low to the ground. We'll never know the joy of altitude.
Thanks, Jim. Next we're going to hear from Ian himself. I would accept no substitute.
Ian himself.
Ian himself.
No substitutes.
This is a poem. It's a poem. It's a poem for youth. It's a poem for lost youth. It's a poem for the fleeting nature of youth. It's a poem about, once it's gone, it's fucking gone, and so it's called the saddest poem in the world.
Yes.
And it starts off with there's a few quotes. I have a competition in me. I want no one else to succeed. Daniel Day-Lewis, There Will Be Blood. Go to hell, Chester. Isabella Rossellini, from The Saddest Music in the World. This is called The Saddest Poem in the World. A decree was sent down through the interwebs of social media to have poets gather in Portland on a cold and rainy night in February to the last remaining dive bar on West Burnside and recite the saddest poem in the world. It was to be a contest, and the prize and award and title that could never be taken away, to have created the saddest poem in the world, plus 24 beautiful chapbooks printed and published in full color and hardback by the Independent Publishing Resource Center. But bookstores were falling by the wayside as gentrification was in the air, brick and mortar establishments closing their doors to be replaced by high-rent condos and high-tech startups with light rail max stops built right on their front doorsteps. So writers were down and food stamps short as bar tabs neglected in hopes of buying ramen noodles to feed thyself, and moleskin journals with enough number 2 pencils and erasers to put down thoughts and thus create the saddest poem in the world. So when the date had finally come, poets arrived from far away and dreary places such as Seattle, Washington, and Brooklyn, New York, where the rent was already too damn high, and foggy, cold, and wet London town, as well as Portland regulars who had moved from San Diego years before things had got this bad. And on this cold day in February, the ice rain had greeted the morning with a coating of slick and freeze and yuck that was sure to put the sting in anybody's skin. Bare hands and noses and cheeks pelted and stabbed from the droplets like daggers and needles fell surely from the heavens that had cursed them on this day when poets would gather in the last remaining dive bar on West Burnside to hear and recite the saddest poem in the world. Entire sections of Burnside and Broadway were shut down to accommodate the street parade of anarchist clowns on tall bicycles and starving artists selling their works from covered awnings and curbsides. A marching band from Beverly Cleary Elementary School to play John Philip Sousa marches, Stars and Stripes Forever, Hail to the Spirit of Liberty, and the Battle Hymn of the Republic. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. Said John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. His soul is marching on. Pimps offered hookers at discount prices. 2-for-1 go-around, rebate special, close-out hand job, one night only. First ones on the house, no customers refused, no glory holes reused. There were tall ones, fat ones, skinny ones, ladies with mustaches, and girls in sequenced go-go boots. There were short ones, pretty ones, freckled ones, girls with afro puffs, and ladies of the night with Adam's apples protruding from their long, thin necks. And as the sun went down, the festivities turned solemn, while neon lights turned on, reflecting in the puddles and the potholes and gutters. People began to assemble at this last remaining dive bar on West Burnside to hear recited the saddest poems in the world. And then somebody filled the jukebox with old cowboy songs, Ray Price and Roy Rogers singing about his dead horse Trigger, and Merle Haggard telling if we make it through December. Lefty Frizzle and Johnny Cash, George Jones and Hank Williams crooning, I'm so lonesome I could cry. Then as drinks began to pour and Portland Sixes began to look like Hollywood Eights, there were stars in our eyes as poets made the roll call. A quorum was assembled, and Frank Sauce took the floor as MC, opened the event with a reading of Emily Dickinson. Success is counted sweetest by those who never succeed. And then introduced Seattle poet Kelly Russell Agadon, who read a piece written in couplets entitled Coupling, about how she is a nightmare to be married to. And silence went the entire room as Frank Sauce took a knee. Next up came Trevino Brings Plenty, a Lakota poet who brought with him a piece about being the savior to white people as his entire culture is systematically ripped away, replaced with a computer science degree and a career entering code for some company who makes it easier to evict tenants for delinquency. After that came famed author Rick Moody, who had taken a cattle boat all the way from Brooklyn, New York, by way of Panama, to read a piece he had completed about his mixtape collection that had now become obsolete. The cassette and the piece both composed on a file format no longer in use. Then came crowd favorite Toni Gaffney from Louisville, who read a piece and rubbed his hair about Kentucky bourbon and working on that night train. He was the one to receive the loudest applause thus far. Afterward, a Hungarian poet named George Zertz from London took the floor to read a piece he had composed entirely of haikus about the paradox of an existentialist crisis from a genocide if the people are no longer in existence. Then came the Mike G, who read a piece and blew in his harmonica, cursing John Keats and singing to his 10-year-old neighbor girl about blood and tears and grinding flesh and suffering in a meat grinder while churning out the bourgeois workers and middle-class consumers, complete with safe land grabs and legalized ethnic cleansings. You know, spring cleaning's gonna happen every spring. Finally came a kid who was sitting in the back in the shadows, drinking a seltzer on ice with slices of citrus, and he read a poem entitled Primal Scream that went something like this. Primal Scream, cursed as a boy with the pure voice of a soprano, I spent all my days howling into the wind. As a child, we'd sing songs composed by the dead and sung in dark churches of stained glass and stone. We dressed in red choir robes with white linen surplice draped over lace tunic, collars starched stiff. Oh, cursed as a boy with the pure voice of a soprano, I spent all my days howling into the wind. Alone, my primal screams echoed from cliffs above the beach, my throat inhaling sand and sea. I'd scream until my voice turned blood, and every day bring myself to do it again once more. I'd see the nightingale reflected in the moonlight as it flew out above me on those cliffs. And like the nightingale, I'd see him following the river, flying always out beyond the sea. He took his son out to the beach to wash away his sins and feel the ocean's tide and pull. And I watched as the father submerged his head into the waves, baptized with salt water and seaweed. Though mountains may fall and rivers wash away everything, I howled like the wind as it rushed through me. Just as rivers rush into the ocean while mountains stream and flow empty under the bridges. Pedals spinning round and round as folk on bicycles cross those bridges, moving from east to west. I saw police arrest a man on MLK in Alberta just for being in love. Cursed as a boy with the pure voice of a soprano, I spent all my days howling into the wind. And when he was done, there was a silence that hit the floor. And even the state lottery video slot machines went quiet, because everybody knew that they had just heard the saddest poem in the world, recited in the last remaining dive bar on West Burnside. And tears fell slowly at first, just a single drop, from the lady bartender and back, which were followed too by the drag queens, sitting, nursing cosmopolitans and Manhattans. Then two of the whiskey drinkers began to cry, one by one, and even the beer drinkers were bawling, shaking physically into their pints as the entire bar was howling with lament like a low chant, a sort of drone like Tibetan throat singing. It was an epiphany, a release, and some sort of relief. because everybody knew they had just heard the saddest poem in the world recited in the last remaining dive bar on West Burnside.
That is the best advertisement for that reading. Monday nights are hard for me, but I did make it over, and it's great. It was great to hear Trevino's name too. If you have a chance to see any of the people who mentioned that poem, but I love Trevino. When I was talking about being in Portland and just getting to know this community back in 2003, Trevino is one of the people that was really active, and he's pretty great. I hope you get a chance to see him. Yeah, he's really good.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, next we're going to hear from Bob Sunshine. Come on down, Bob.
What an act of power. I've been dreaming about this all day.
All right, we're gonna get a little warm up on this. This is unbelievable. Enjoy the next 5 minutes. It's the brown. So I can do whatever I want. I'm colorblind. Yeah, isn't that neat? 5 minutes is a long time. Wow. But we got a warm up. I need a warm up. Everybody right now should take a nice deep breath in. Oh, that felt good. Okay, this is my warm up. Everybody enjoy. I'm going to need your help on this. Here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and then OK. J, I, H, G, oh yeah. I think I forgot it. Okay, here we go. We're all going to do it together. Here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Oh yeah! Oh, you better believe it! You better believe it. But where are we? Where are we? Oh, that brown is like going to be all night. That brown is but it is. I tested it 3 times today. Enjoy. Here we go. I don't even need this. Here we go. Bad luck real, abysmal plain. Like to talk to, took the train. Whistle blows right now, no now. Out the back door smelled Dachau. Oh yeah, you better believe it. Fallen seeds, cedar offsprings. 100 years between growth rings. Backyard tree we climbed by all. Outlived each and every fall. When the body lies to sleep, doesn't hurt unless dust heap. Even God wrote poem shalom. Thou shalt not 10 times syndrome. Oh, 5 minutes is like, ooh, man. All right, we're going to go backwards. I think I got enough time. Thou shalt not 10 times syndrome. Even God wrote poem shalom. Doesn't hurt unless the seep when the body lies to sleep. Outlived each and every fall, backyard tree was climbed by all. 100 years between growth rings, fallen seeds, cedar offsprings. And the last one. Out the back door smelled Dachau. Whistle blows right now, no now. Like to talk to, took the train. Bad luck, real abysmal plain. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you. Now I'm all tangled up. This takes 5 minutes just to leave. Thank you very much.
Sure thing.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Joyce Colson, so the cavalcade of MCs continues. Here goes the cavalcade. Mike, please say hello to Joyce Colson.
Yes.
Of course. That's what it's there.
Less tall people.
That's great. Herb would be proud of that.
Tonight I'm going to offer three things. I'm going to offer a commercial, and then I'm going to offer the weather report, and I'm going to offer a movie review. First, the commercial. Next Wednesday, I'm open mic poetry reading at Paper Tiger Coffee Roaster, 703 p.m. Every third Wednesday, it starts at 7 p.m. Next week, my feature reader is Wayne Lee. There's the commercial. Now, the weather report. Unpredictable weather. The sunny days and rainy days are weather or not related. The clouds roll by like a traffic jam, and streets swim in water. There's a thunderous applause and a brilliant stroke of lightning idea. Mother Nature lines the street with wind-blown crispy leaves. All of this is unpredicted by the weatherman. Details of whether or not related are forecast sooner or later, depending on Mother Nature's whim. This is the beleaguered climate change reporter placing a sure bet tomorrow will be gloriously filled to the brim with weather. And now, a movie review. Last night, I watched a movie that was incredibly poetic. I mean, if you're a poet, you should see the movie. It's fantastic. It's Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. It's an animated movie, and the main character, Mustafa, is a poet and an artist. And as, well, the leader of the country thinks what he reads is seditious. That's the point. Ah, Mustafa, the poet for the people. It is through your words freedom lives. They defy the mindless, insane convictions of those who would wield through power. Ah, Mustafa, the poet for the people. The beauty of the love in your words convey the notion that every man is sacred. Every word is carefully chosen to pluck heartstrings. Ah, Mustafa, the poet for the people. Life itself is a reverie in your rhythm. The only rhyme that lives through liberty. Every word is carefully chosen to pluck heartstrings. Ah, Mustafa, the poet for the people. The quintessence of your thoughts rings in the souls of the oppressed. Every word is carefully chosen to pluck heartstrings. Ah, Mustafa, the poet for the people. Were it not for your words of wise rhythm, the verses of your teachings, your brave love, every blind seagull would not know you. Every word is carefully chosen to pluck heartstrings. Ah, Mustafa, the poet for the people. You are the memory of true love and compassion. The words you leave behind are sacred grace. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. And reading over a paper tiger is really fun, so that's another opportunity to share your work and hear some great poetry. Get a cup of coffee while we're over there. And that one's been around for a while. This is the third incarnation, maybe the fourth, but yeah, a lot of fun. And next we're going to hear from Roxanne Bash. Come on up, Roxanne.
Thanks for following someone tall. And I have 2 poems for you tonight, and I mean, see if you can guess what the theme is of my poetry lately. The first one is called Comfort Me. Comfort me with apples, sliced thin and layered with cheese, the tart bite singing through the full richness of sharp cheddar. As the rain falls in a slow drizzle of gray that never quite gives way to day, as the news drones over the radio of impending doom and disaster, comfort me with tea and cookies pulled hot from the oven, sending out the sweet scent of butter and sugar and bergamot, as memories of lost regret threaten to snatch away breath, as shadows of past come tapping on shoulders hunched and stiff. Then my bowl is empty, and I come to you. Fire up the stove and comfort me with a rich stew. And now for dessert. How to make a pie. Be careful of the thorns as you reach for the plump, sweet berries on the vine. Pick enough to fill the bowl, and a few handfuls more for the eager fingers that reach for an early taste. Wash the berries gently so as not to crush and losing the precious juices, adding sugar to taste and a bit of flour to stand it up, thick and proud. Make 2 crusts, rich with flour, butter, shortening, sugar, and salt, 1 for below, to cradle the dark blue-black jewels, 1 for above, to settle them in, crimp the edges, and slip the top. Set the oven nice and hot, baking in the radiant heat to a rich golden brown, releasing the fragrant sweet scent of summer and salvation. Serve warm with cream, iced or whipped, to mingle and melt white puddles of pooling among flaky pastry and mounds of luscious wonder, contented sighs on purple lips. And then, be careful of your footing as you climb the old tree, reaching for the treasures in the branches high above.
I knew I was gonna forget something with all the announcements. I want to send, share regrets from Toni, my co-host and wife, partner in Truth and Beauty. She's just feeling ill this evening, but she wishes that she could be here. And Steve knows how much Toni loves her too. So anyway, hopefully she'll be back again with us next month. And I also wanted to mention that I have a newsletter. Probably a fair amount of people that I'm speaking to right now are on it, but just in case. Once a month I send out announcements about poetry events happening in Portland and Vancouver. If you'd like to receive those announcements or have friends that do, that's on the clipboard at the back. And I just thought I would mention that quickly. And now we're going to hear from Morgan Hutchinson.
Toni always does such a good job of this. Where is she?
Yeah.
She sets it up real nice for us. All right. So, I sat down to write today, and this is what came out. It's called Time and the Reptile. Lick time. Saliva thickens. Words loosen. We are choosing bruises of ego, soaring sordid fucking time. I just want to fuck time right out of the room. And I just want to focus on this goddamn task of loosening up this reptile mind. This cold-blooded path to cold writing in a cold room. Paper stacked against me. Books piled on them. Attention on full deficit. Let's get lit. Tilt back and scour the desert lands. Scold memory for thinking of eternity. For thinking of everything. For thinking of not one single thing. For thinking of you. Let's get lit. Walk around pals on 4 legs in search of Terrence McKenna. In search of ourselves. In search of warm-blooded circulation among bookshelves. Physical trips. Lifting thoughts to lofts. To castles, to flooded dreams, where reptiles are preferred, where the sunbathing rocks are plenty. These weathered raw scales dare to shed time, dare to shed showers from glands to swallow, and because our blood is icy, and because our backbone is sturdy, we'll live longer, watch the clock slow their ticking, keep on traversing the desert, even alone, even temporarily, whatever weather, in search of water, licking cacti, passing houses made of stucco, made of anything but plastic, made of spit and dirt. Our friends are so busy nesting, laying eggs in the soft ground, needing each other, needing hugs, inducing dopamine, the hardest natural narcotic. And I just want to fuck this doubt straight out of the room, and I just want to pick up this goddamn book to read it, to warm up these reptilian receptors, to organize these papers, to accept that I lie among the vertebrates. And although time may be an ally, good posture is not guaranteed. And although I'm able to swim, the currents do get rough. Let's get lit. Embrace those warm intervals, the ceiling heat, your radiating currents, your stable body temp, our proximity to passing mornings. These weathered winter scales on the verge of sloughing off, on the verge of rubbing off, composting alongside seasons, alongside roaming, alongside reasons. Let's get lit. You can stroke my mania, I will stroke your ego. We can exchange keys and battle wounds from living. You on your 2 legs, me on my 4. We'll store electricity in the sockets and plug in from time to time. Store electricity in the sockets and plug in from time to time.
Yes. And congratulations to Morgan on 1 year being open over there at High-End Marketplace. We just celebrated that. Is there going to be a Sunday sessions this month?
Yeah, we have a really great violinist and cello player coming in, and some free massages from a local LMP.
And do you know what the date is on that one?
February 28th.
February 28th, 1 to 4, 19th and Broadway. Yeah,
Thank you.
check it out.
Thanks, Chris.
21 and over, but you probably knew that. And next we're going to hear from Darcy Schultz. Come on up, Darcy.
Almost this tall.
Want me to raise it for you?
No.
Okay.
Okay. September Northwest. At dawn, the secret trees whisper and wait in the fog. The shadows dissolve in gray light. The emptiness is full. A dove cries. The sun bursts open in that nest of blue and sets the oaks aflame with song as they stretch and flow downhill in summer joy, emerging from cloud's dark, departing cloak. Only yesterday, rain raged, took the hills by storm, marching north with fire and cloud hair, with the unsubtle certainty of invasion, forging ahead with the wet blaze of a last hurrah. The toll of water collects its dew in the winter, but today, bees kiss clover in the fields and dance without care. at the edge. Listen a while. Breathe into new silence this day's splintered pieces and voices that do not stop. Listen a while. Exhale out of old silence the long ago futile breaths steaming out of ancient pain. Listen a while. Hear the hammer of brokenness and the heartbeat's will to live calling through winter waves. I know weight of whales ensnared by dark sea and rock. I know all the worlds are breathing, moving through me like a sigh. Listen a while to whale breath. Watch the sea foam flecked with red. Listen to the echoes of sounding beyond sound. I know the groan of stone, everlasting passion of whale in the slow rain on the wave, singing at the terrible edge. And this one is a prompt about a conversation between two people. And I had missed my high school best friend, who I haven't seen since high school, but we kept up correspondences here and there, you know, Christmas cards and occasional Facebook shares and things like that. And it turns out that when I was in Glastonbury this summer, she was there a day later, and we missed each other by a day. And we hadn't seen each other, and we found out like a couple of days later that we were both there at roughly the same time. So this is about that. Misty. If our orbits had crossed a day earlier, we could have had cream tea and then stuffed till tomorrow with cream and jam and scones caught up. But you would have hidden behind hedges of lovely words, concealed your trail in the delicious taste of lemon sky and wind, snared me with perfume and petal of every sun-drenched flower. You would set out a banquet, and I would savor every bite, but then you'd disappear, covered by palette knife strokes of layer on layer of senses, illusion wrought painted words. I might have started by yanking away mist with wind and storm, cutting landscapes to the bone, revealing secret curve of land, passion of wind and wave, beauty of driftwood and sand, or stark unpretentious desert. I would crow call my sentinel's journey. You would sing sweetly and hide in your secrets. You may know I was hiding in my own, disguised in barren power. And we would farewell, still friends, cloak restless thoughts in misty words, balance in distance regained.
Thanks, Darcy. Next we're going to hear from Jan Ice. Come on up, Jane.
Hope my voice comes out. This is a new one. It's called When I Turn Away. When I turn my back to you, it is not because of shame. Do not think that I shun you. I do not turn away with revulsion. When I turn my face away from yours, it is not out of boredom. It is not because of wrong, but because of right. I have not lost my fascination with your uniqueness. When I turn my back to you, I wear your loyalty like a suit of armor. When my back is up against the wall, it is you that I count on. Only a fool would turn their back on an enemy, but you have earned this honor. I turn my back to you. And because it's February, Valentine's Day vaccinations. I think I've read this one before. It's V-Day. The world's gone mad. The very air is choked with a red haze. Breathing is difficult. The streets are flowing red with rivers of confetti. Fear clouds judgment. and fools set out on doomed errands, finding the last red, heart-shaped box of candy is only an illusion of success. Reaching the flower shop only to be disappointed, the last wilted, tattered, sad-looking rose sits alone, and the shop is closed. In desperation, the sad puppy dog eyes come out, slinking home to face the music, pathetic symbol of love in hand. When this V-Day is finally over, a vow is made, never to be caught unarmed